Africa, a rich, diverse continent that transitioned from a collection of independent tribes to territories under European control. Prior to colonization in the 15th century, Africa was alive with vibrant cultures, societies, and kingdoms. From the ancient pyramids of Egypt, built around 2500 BC, to the rock-hewn churches of Ethiopia crafted the 12th century, and the bustling trade centers of the Swahili coast thriving in the 10th century, Africa was rich in civilization. Each culture had its unique traditions, languages, and lifestyles. However, the 15th century saw European powers setting their sights on this resource-rich land. Britain, France, Germany, and Belgium, drawn by the allure of resources and strategic assets, began what we now call the Scramble for Africa. The epicenter of this scramble was the Berlin Conference, held from 1884 to 1885. This key meeting, lacking any African representation, drastically changed the African landscape. European nations divided Africa into arbitrary territories without considering indigenous cultures, kingdoms, and tribal borders. This division was more than just geographic reshuffling. It marked a radical shift in Africa's destiny, bringing an era of oppression, exploitation, and cultural degradation. The rich traditions and societal structures of Africa were systematically destroyed by foreign administration systems. This marked the dark period in Africa's history in the late 19th century when foreign powers exploited its resources and subjected its people to severe atrocities. This was the dawn of Africa's colonization. Yet, even amid such adversity, Africa's spirit stood strong. Seeds of resistance were sown, which led to a strong wave of decolonization that swept across the continent in mid-20th century. The colonization of Africa, a historical event that drastically changed the continent's destiny. As we explore this fascinating history, we'll uncover the resilience and determination that led to Africa's liberation. Colonization wasn't a peaceful process. It was often brutal, violent, and dehumanizing. The dark underbelly of this era is stained with stories of immense suffering as foreign powers sought to extract the rich resources of the African continent. Let's delve into one of the most chilling examples, the Democratic Republic of Congo, then known as the Congo Free State under the rule of King Leopold II of Belgium from 1885 to 1908. This wasn't a benevolent monarchy. Instead, it was a regime marked by a ruthless pursuit of rubber and ivory, a pursuit that led to the widespread practice of amputating hands. This cruel punishment was meted out to those who failed to meet collection quotas or even to innocent people as a means of spreading fear. Men, women, and children alike were victims of this horrific practice. It's estimated that millions of Congolese people lost their lives during this brutal period, a testament to the incomprehensible scale of the horror. But the Congo isn't the only scar on the face of colonization. All across the continent, from the sandy dunes of the Sahara to the lush landscapes of the Cape, atrocities were committed. In Namibia, the Herero and Nama genocide by the German colonizers marked the years 1904 to 1908, which resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of indigenous people. In Algeria, from 1830 to 1962, the French colonizers subjected the local population to forced labor, torture, and mass. In Mozambique, from 1497 to 1975, the Portuguese colonizers imposed forced labor systems, leading to widespread suffering and death. The list goes on, painting a picture of a continent under siege, its people subjected to unimaginable cruelty in the name of exploitation and profit. The crimes committed during colonization left a lasting, painful imprint on Africa. They stripped the continent of its resources, disrupted its social structures, and caused untold human suffering. As we move forward in our exploration of Africa's decolonization, we must remember these dark chapters of history, not to dwell in the past, but to understand the enduring impacts of these atrocities and the resilience of the African people. But as the saying goes, no condition is permanent. Around the mid-20th century, the winds of change started to blow across Africa. The spark that ignited the flame of decolonization in Africa was multifaceted. A significant catalyst was the aftermath of World War II, which ended in 1945. The war had a profound effect on the colonizing powers. Europe was ravaged, and the economies of these once mighty empires were in shambles. They simply could not afford to maintain their overseas colonies anymore. Simultaneously, the war had a profound psychological effect. It unveiled the hypocrisy of the colonial powers. They had fought a war for freedom and democracy, yet denied these same rights to their colonial subjects. This stirred a sense of irony and gave fuel to the anti-colonial sentiment. The rise of nationalism played a critical role too. The war had led to the mobilization and militarization of many Africans. They had fought and died for their colonial masters, and this brought a new sense of unity, purpose, and a shared desire for self-determination. The winds of change were blowing not just in Africa, but across the globe. In 1945, the newly formed United Nations started to exert pressure on the imperial powers to grant independence to their colonies. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1948, also gave moral impetus to the anti-colonial struggle. The influence of other decolonized nations was palpable as well. The success of India's nonviolent struggle for independence led by Mahatma Gandhi, which culminated in 1947, offered a blueprint for peaceful resistance. Lastly, there were a few enlightened leaders in the colonial powers who recognized that the tide was turning. They saw that it was not just morally right, but also pragmatically sensible to let their colonies go. Thus, a combination of economic realities, moral awakening, international pressure, and the rise of nationalism set off a wave of decolonization across Africa in the late 1950s and early 1960s. The continent, which had for so long been under the yoke of foreign domination, was stirring awake. The tide began to turn, and Africa started to reclaim its autonomy. The path to independence was not an easy one. It was a fight, an earnest endeavor for freedom. In the mid-20th century, Africa found itself in turbulent times. The seeds of rebellion had been sown, and the people were ready to reclaim their homeland. This was an era marked by courageous leaders, daring revolutions, and a fervent desire for sovereignty. We begin our journey with Ghana. Guided by Kwame Nkrumah, a charismatic figure of conviction, Africa started envisioning a free and united future. Nkrumah led the Gold Coast colony to independence in 1957, making Ghana the pioneer African country to liberate itself from the shackles of colonial rule. Then there was the fierce Mau Mau uprising in Kenya, a grueling war of attrition that straddled the years from 1952 to 1960. The rebels, mainly from the Kikuyu tribe, fought relentlessly against British rule, their resilience and sacrifice culminating in Kenya's independence in 1963. In Algeria, independence was a saga of protracted warfare. The soul-crushing Algerian War from 1954 to 1962 resulted in a staggering loss of life, yet the indomitable spirit of the Algerians led to their eventual emancipation, and we cannot leave out the inspiring fight for independence in the Democratic Republic of Congo, spearheaded by Patrice Emery Lumumba. Lumumba's passionate opposition to Belgian colonial rule and his vision for a united Congo led to the country's independence in 1960. Further south, the struggle was equally relentless. In South Africa, the oppressive apartheid regime was met with robust resistance. Icons like Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison from 1962 to 1990, emerged as powerful symbols of defiance. Their unwavering commitment to justice and equality led to the downfall of apartheid and the birth of a democratic South Africa in 1994. But let's not forget the unsung heroes, the everyday men and women who confronted their oppressors and risked everything for the dream of independence. While their names may not be carved in history books, their spirit and courage remain a pivotal part of Africa's journey to freedom. Africa's path to independence was a testament to the resilience and perseverance of its people. They fought, they bled, and they triumphed. Their legacy stands as a reminder that freedom isn't simply given, it's earned, and the fight for independence is a testament to the invincible spirit of humanity. As we close this chapter, let the stories of the past inspire you, let the lessons guide your understanding of the present, and let the echoes of independence shape our collective future. Thank you for watching. Remember, history is not just about the past, it's about understanding our present and shaping our future. Until next time, stay awesome and stay safe.